What's up, guys? Now, at the beginning of the year, I ended up getting something really cool, and that's this right here. This is the Davinci Resolve Speed Editor. Now, this Speed Editor you can actually get as its own little mini panel, or they also include a version of it where they have a lot of these same buttons and layouts, including this little dial on a full-size keyboard that you can get as well. Now, I picked up this little mini panel because this just fits my workflow better, and I feel like I would rather have this little mini panel and be able to kind of arrange it around on my desk if I needed to move it out of the way and just use my regular keyboard, especially if I'm using other applications. So this for me just worked better for my workflow, but just so you know, there is also the keyboard option where it comes with a full-size keyboard as well, and this comes attached on it. Now, the beautiful thing that I love about Blackmagic as a company is that with this little mini panel is $295. For the price of this, you get Davinci Resolve Studio as well, or you get this free with the price of Davinci Resolve. However you want to think about it. Either way, it's nice that this is included in the price, and you also get the full version of Resolve along with it too. So in the US, that's $295 US for this, and that comes with the studio version of Resolve as well. So what comes inside the box with this? Well, you get the little mini panel, which is the speed editor right here. You also get a USB-C to USB-C cable that you can hook into your computer or your laptop. And then you get some reading material along with it. And then you also get some stickers. Love a company that includes stickers. As always, we'll jump into Resolve here in a minute, and I'll show you all of the really cool things that this little panel does, because there's a lot of features jam-packed into this. But right before we get started, if you haven't done so already, please hit the subscribe button and hit the like button down below as well. Share this video, just get it out there, you know, just spread the word. And hopefully you guys find this video educational and informative as well. Also, welcome to all of the new subs that we have on the channel. Hello, guys. Thanks for subscribing and sticking around. To all of you that are just visiting, welcome. Hopefully you decide to hit the subscribe button and be part of the community. Now, without any further ado, let's get into Resolve and I'll show you what this thing does. So here it is, and I think I'll be alternating between sort of this top-down view and also showing you what's going on in Resolve. I have mine hardwired into my computer, but also this supports Bluetooth, so if you need it, you can go wireless. This is a USB-C cable though, so just be careful if you have like an older computer that you're working on. I think it says in the manual that it doesn't support anything older than USB 3. Now, there wasn't much setup going on here. I just had to open Resolve and it, you know, plugged it in and to the computer and it recognized it right away. So I could start editing with it pretty much right off the bat. There's really no setup with this mini panel. So if you go up here to like the help menu, you can actually see Davinci control panel set up here. And if I open it, it'll show you it's hooked up, shows that it's hooked up through USB cable, and also show you your battery percentage if you're doing it through Bluetooth as well. Now, you might be asking yourself, why a panel like this in the first place? Can't you do the same thing with a keyboard? So yes and no. A keyboard with proper keyboard shortcuts can work just as fast. But the thing that really makes the difference for me here, all of the buttons that I need to press are in this one small area here. And then we also have this wheel. For me, this makes the most difference because it's this tactile wheel that I can control precisely and I can make really fine adjustments with, which I'll show you in a little bit. Just to me is a very intuitive way to edit and scroll through your footage. I feel like I have a lot of control here, especially switching between these three modes that it offers as well. So if I hit scroll, for example, we go faster, jog, we go slower. I can also, depending on how fast I move this, go frame by frame as well. So that I think is really useful, and you just don't get that feeling with a keyboard. So let's get right into it. First thing is obviously this mini panel comes with 3 different scrubbing modes for your timeline. So you have shuttle, which essentially is a fast forward and rewind. So I pressed it here, the little red indicator lights up to let you know you're in shuttle mode. And depending on how fast I turn this wheel, it'll basically fast forward or rewind through my timeline with increasing speed. So if I keep going like this, it goes really fast. And then if I go back, it starts rewinding really fast as well. So that's pretty useful if you want to scrub through your footage like that. The next mode here, jog, which you saw me go to, and show you a little bit of before, is for much more detailed scrubbing. So you'll see in the timeline, when I use jog, it's moving a lot slower now. especially if you pay attention here to where you can see the entire timeline, which is just this one clip that I have of one of my videos. So if I use the wheel, it's going pretty slow. I have to turn it pretty fast to go any amount of length. But the cool thing about jog is that, like I said, you can go frame by frame. So if I grab the wheel and turn really slowly, you can see in my program monitor here that I'm going just one frame at a time. So that's really cool. Scroll is essentially to scrub the entire timeline is what the Resolve manual pretty much says. So with scroll, it's kind of like jog. It doesn't fast forward or rewind, but as you can see, I'm moving through the timeline really fast. I can see everything just at a glance and then go all the way to the beginning and all the way to the end pretty fast. I usually keep it on jog most of the time, especially when I'm trying to make my finer edits through my piece. And even if I'm going scene by scene for like something narrative, I'd rather have the control of just going, you know, one line at a time or whatever to pick out my edits. And then scroll, obviously, when I need to get to different places of the timeline or go forward to like the next scene or whatever. All right, so up here on the top left of this panel, you have all of your cutting and inserting. So you have Smart Insert, which will drop a clip at the nearest edit point. Append here will drop the clip at the end of your timeline and so on. Really cool. You also have close up here. So let's say you want to punch in on a clip. It'll drop a 5-second clip on a second video layer and punch in automatically, which is pretty cool. You get, I think Resolve says anywhere between 20 to 40% of a zoom in, assuming you're missing that second camera angle and you just want to do it through the software with this close up button. So let me see if I scrub to this right here. There you go. Press the button. You can see it's giving me this close up of my video feed on the second layer here. Just added it as a new track. So that's cool. If you press and hold this button as well, you can see it says Y position here. If you press and hold this, you can actually adjust the Y position of your video to reframe your close up. So speaking of which, some keys also have that secondary function that you can access by either double pressing or pressing and holding a button depending on what the function is. So for example, it's also on the in and out keys. If I go in here, you'll see it creates an in point. If I double tap, it does the secondary function, which is to clear. So right below all of your cutting and inserting tools, you then have the trim features, and then you also have some transitions here on the bottom as well. So right below that, you have some trimming functions like setting in and out points. You also, if we're on the timeline, have trim in and trim out points on clips as well. I usually like to hold down the button and roll the wheel until I get where I want. If you're on the cut page, you also go into this frame by frame editing view so you can see how many frames you're changing each clip by. So if I actually hold it here, if I go back to the beginning of right here, our timeline, see, trim in lets you trim the beginning portion of this clip, and it'll show you this frame by frame view as well to let you know how much you're changing it. So if you have an edit in your clip, let's say I split it here and then I trim the out point of this one, it'll actually go into this frame by frame split view that you can see up here, which basically shows you how much you're trimming of the first clip versus where the second clip is coming in. That's usually how I like to edit most of my videos. So like I said, I'll usually drop in here and trim in until I find where my audio waveform is starting, and it'll show you that at the bottom. So right about here is where the video comes in, and then I can just drop that, and then I have my endpoint set right here on this clip. Some keys also have different functions depending on what mode you're in. So by that I mean, if I'm in my source viewer here, as you can see, this part of the cut page has changed to the source, which is this clip that I have here in my bin. So if I hold the trim in, for example, it will start adjusting the endpoint of that clip, as opposed to on the timeline where it actually just adjusts the endpoint of where the clip starts coming in on the timeline. At the bottom, you have some transitions that you can put in quickly. So cut will change it to just a simple cut on the clip. It won't add one in though. If you want that, you have to use the split key, which is up here, which will add, for example, if we go to this first one, split, it split these clips into two. So now I have two clips there. Let's say I want to add a transition though, dissolve we'll add a dissolve. You can see it here at the bottom of my two clips. And if I hold in this button, for example, which is transition duration, I can now affect the length of this transition as well. So let's say I want to make it longer. And then if we use the wheel here, we can actually scroll through and see how that looks. You also have smooth cut here on the bottom, which if we hit that, it basically added the smooth cut. So now we can kind of go through and preview that as well. And let's say I just want to change it back to a cut like I had it before. I can hit that key and there you go. Now it's just a simple cut between the two clips again. Now on this keyboard, we also have the escape to get out of whatever view you're in, or also an undo button. So since it's a second function, we can double tap and there you go. Now it just undid and added the transition back here on my timeline. So that's really useful. You also have ripple delete. So for example, let's say I want to get rid of this middle clip right here. And I'm on it, I can just hit ripple delete. There you go. It deletes the space in between these clips and also removes the one that was in the middle there. Full view, you can hit here and it'll give you a full screen preview of the clips that you're on and what your video looks like. And you also have the snap function, which you can turn on and off from here as well. So that's just when you're editing, you can see the cursor kind of snaps and sticks to where the edit points are. That way, when you're adding clips and stuff, you have the snap function enabled. I really like it, so I leave it enabled on mine. Now, another really cool feature, if I go to the edit page here, for example, is if you have an audio clip selected and you use the audio level key right here and actually hold it, you can make really quick audio level adjustments here. As you can see, the waveform moving up and down. So that way I don't have to move my hand off this editing keyboard. I can just use the wheel then to increase and decrease volume until it kind of looks okay to me. And then I can just release it and there you go. Now back on the cut page, this same thing has a mark secondary function. So if I double tap and hold it, I can actually use the wheel to add whatever color mark I want on my timeline as well. So let's go for green, let's say. There you go. It added the little marker right here on my timeline. And then if I double tap, it'll open it up so then I can just add my notes and name it whatever I want here. Okay, now I've kind of avoided this middle area of the keyboard here for the simple reason that there's just a lot going on here to talk about. I'm gonna skip setting up a multicam session because that's what all these keys are for. And then obviously below you just have the stop and play button as well. But all of these keys in the middle are for multicam session work. So that's if you have multiple cameras going for one video shoot. For example, music videos, if you have multiple cameras set up, you can use all of them and sync them either by audio waveform or by timecode if you have that going in your cameras. So Resolve will automatically do that and sync it. You can also quickly preview your sync bin up here as well with this key. So that way, if you have them all synced up already, you can just kind of hit this and it'll go to your bin. So you can see all of your clips. So I'll avoid setting that up for now because that's outside the scope of this video, but I will show you a really quick way that you can use this keyboard in a multicam function as well. If I go here into Resolve and actually, let's go back here. As you can see in this session, we have several cameras here, and then we also have a music track that I'm editing off of here. So you can basically right click, you can switch multicam clip angle here. So for the master audio clip here, I wanted the actual recording of this music that the band was playing off of. So I just selected camera music. And now I have the rest of the cameras to play with and make my edit. Now, as you can see on my timeline here, I've already done some editing in this multicam session that I had going here. So if you look, there's multiple angles that I've already added, and I have my master audio track down here, like I said. So the cool thing though that I wanted to show you with this keyboard is that basically in a multicam sort of environment, you can actually use it sort of like with a live switcher function, and it'll add all of your edits to your timeline as you're going along and pressing the different angles that you want for your edit, which I'll show you in just a second. I know that sounds confusing, but it's a lot simpler when you see it. Now, you can also use it as a multicam editor, so you can hit the different camera buttons and use your in and out points as well, and then add them to the timeline. You can certainly do that as well. But this is really cool when you have multiple camera angles that you're working with like this, and they're all supposed to be synchronized. either to a audio track or something like that. It actually works really cool as a live switcher. So if you look at my timeline here, I'm actually gonna have these clips of a band playing, and I'll hit the play button, and then what I'll do is I'll tab through the camera angles as the song gets going, so you can see how it'll just add the different angles to the timeline here without me having to switch each individual clip to the angle that I want. So let's press play here. And let's say, for example, I want to go to camera 7, so I can just hit camera 7, and there you go. Now it switches it for me and adds the edit in the timeline already, which is great. Let's say I want to go out to the wide shot, which is camera 6 here, so I'll hit that. And there we go. Now I'm on camera 6, and it added that edit point here for me as well. All right, so that's it for this video. Now, hopefully you guys found that informative, and this panel just has a lot of features. They definitely did a lot of thinking to figure out how to include as many features as possible into this little mini panel. I think that this is a really great tool, especially if you do all of your editing in Resolve. This really helps, especially playing around with it as far as like using it on the cut page. It works on the edit page as well. And just the functionality that it opens up. You don't have to do keyboard shortcuts. You don't have to remember where everything's laid out. There's just a button for everything. You can press it, press and hold, use the little wheel, which, like I said, just offers this really nice tactile feel to everything. So I love using it. And if you guys consider picking it up, just think about it too. You get the studio version of Resolve with it and basically get the mini panel for free. So I think it's a great deal. Now, hopefully you enjoyed this video and this sheds some light on whether this little mini panel would work for you and your workflow. Let me know if it does. Let me actually know in the comments down below if you already have this or if you're planning on picking one up, especially after watching this video. I don't have any affiliate links or whatever, and Blackmagic, I forgot to mention this at the beginning, but Blackmagic is not sponsoring this video in any way. I just think that this is a really cool, nifty little tool to use, and I think it's got a lot of functionality, so I'm just presenting it to you guys, and hopefully you like it. If you don't, that's okay too. I mean, these tools aren't for everybody's workflow, but it certainly does help, especially if you're editing. So I think it's a really cool tool, and I've been using it so far, and I love it. Hopefully, if you guys pick one up, you'll love it too. Until next time though, get out there and create something. A lot of it.